Hi, my name is Kirsty, and today I'm going to talk about the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act and the case for a national bottle bill. Plastic waste has become a really hot topic, and rightfully so. Since plastics entered into mass production, over 8.3 billion metric tons have been manufactured, with rates compounding at 8.4% annually. Plastic has made its way into places that scientists previously never anticipated, such as the depths of the Marianas Trench, the Arctic, and even microplastics accumulating in rainfall. And we don't really know the full scope of the impacts to these ecosystems and let alone our own bodies. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't have to be this way. Just as nature is constantly recycling matter and energy, we can improve our recycling habits and the quality of our recycling streams to fight this plastic pollution crisis without compromising on profits. 2020 has been an incredible year for legislation regarding plastic pollution. According to the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators, more than 200 bills were introduced across 35 states with objectives of reducing and mitigating plastic pollution. The Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act is designed to systematically overhaul the way that the United States produces, consumes, and disposes plastics with an emphasis on producer responsibility and environmental justice. This piece of legislation is incredibly ambitious. If you'd like to, feel free to pause this video and read through some of the other efforts of this bill. So why do we care about bottles and containers? So as seen in the graph on the right, the US has had a steady growth in packaged beverage sales of all materials. And if you look at our percentage of containers that actually get recycled, that's been decreasing while the access to curbside programs in the United States has increased. And as global plastics production is expected to quadruple by 2050, we need policies that increase recovery rates to reduce the burden on our environment and our people. So, the exciting part about fighting pollution and climate change is that everyone and every policy has a part to play. A bottle bill or a container deposit law is again just one of these many solutions. So the way this works is pretty simple. A retailer pays a fee to the distributor for the beverages. The retailer sells that beverage to a consumer, where the consumer pays usually a 5 to 15-cent deposit for that beverage. When the consumer's done enjoying their beverage, they can take it back to the supermarket or redemption center and they can receive that refund. The retailer or redemption center then returns the materials to the distributor plus a little handling fee and they receive their deposit back. The distributor then recycles or refills that containers to keep it all going. Benefits of bottle bills. So here's where it gets really exciting. So we can't recycle our way out of climate change, but we can at least recycle better. By producing from recycled materials, we can reduce energy and emissions without sacrificing on performance to meet consumer demand. Municipal waste management systems are failing across the country, and it's largely not their fault. By bringing the source of the problem, the producer, into the equation for fixing the problem, we can transform what was once a linear take and waste system to one that is circular, equitable, and profitable for all. And bottle bills work. Recycling rates in states with bottle bills are significantly higher than non deposit law states. Deposit law systems are not meant to replace curbside recycling, but rather they're meant to complement them, which enables bottle bill states to have a higher average container recycling rate between 75 and 85% compared to the 35% national average. And by having a financial incentive to pick up trash, bottle bills are also an excellent way to reduce litter. That was actually their original goal. Studies comparing pre and post bill implementation in 7 states showed 69 to 84% reductions in beverage container litter and 30 to 65% reductions in overall litter. The challenge of curbside recycling alone is contamination. We need cleaner streams to keep up with the demand for high quality recycled PET, HDP plastics, and many other materials. And recycling creates far more jobs at higher income levels than landfill or incineration occupations. Even though we only recycle about a third of all of our waste, 86% of the total US jobs from managing our discards comes from recycling activities. Like with anything, there's always going to be trade-offs and points of friction. Since container deposit laws incentivize recycling and waste reduction, the refunds have to be high enough to motivate a customer to go through the lengths to return a container versus just throwing it out. Zones of convenience also correlate with redemption rates. So if consumers have to travel further, the likelihood of them returning the container is lower. By far, the most challenging part of bottables are the collection portion, which is key to actually accomplishing the real goal of waste reduction and increased recycling rates. With low handling fees paid to the retailer from the producer, retailers and redemption centers are at odds with space and manpower to collect these containers. In some locations, it's become an unnecessary burden on retailers to collect and store used containers in addition to their job. Another concern is that a program run by a PRO or private company would reduce market competition for curbside programs and municipal recycling facilities. Others would also argue that curbside programs are far more convenient and are better than bottle bills. However, curbside alone often has extremely high contamination rates and becomes too expensive for cities to manage as operation costs are higher for sorting. GAO studies have shown that dual curbside with deposit systems are more cost effective for municipalities as producers are responsible for operating deposit programs, which offsets the municipalities. So states are guiding the way, but is that enough? So Oregon was the first state to introduce container deposit legislation in 1971 and has grown to 10 states and Guam. Hawaii has really been the only state to pass a bottle bill since 1987, but state legislation has expanded to include more materials and to increase refund rates to account for inflation. Every state has tried to pass a bottle bill, but is often pushed down by trade groups, bottling companies, and other producers. In fact, it's been introduced at the national level before, but industry lobbying has been the largest force from enacting these laws, not the public. If the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act was signed into law and a national container deposit system run by PROs was enacted, state programs would not be infringed upon. States can continue their own programs as long as they demonstrate that they are meeting the legislation's requirements, or they can opt into the federally run program. And most citizens in non deposit bill states are welcoming of a deposit system, and consumer trends have not exhibited a significant change with a refundable tax, which suggests that this program would not cause an additional harm on citizens, producers, or states. So, why do we need a bottle bill at the national level? With recycling in the hands of about 20,000 different communities with various ranges of sizes, capacities, this has led to a patchwork effort in recycling across the states. We need federal guidance and direction to create an even playing ground and to set a clear objective. The US produces the most plastic waste per capita, so we are a large part of a very global problem. Increasing national recycling rates is one of 8 of the UN Sustainable Development Strategies that all countries need to heed to. The Sierra Club has dubbed bottables as the single most effective way to improve recycling rates, and companies should be held responsible for managing their products' end life cycle rather than leaving it up to local municipalities and even foreign countries. It's also in these companies' best interest to support this bill. The global market for high quality recycled plastics is increasing. It's expected to grow by $14.74 billion between 2020 and 2024. And much of this is spurred by consumer demand and also new legislation, like one recently passed in California, which requires a post consumer content of 15% in its beverage containers by 2022. Producers need clean recyclables to make this happen, and this most often comes from bottleable states. Recycling creates more jobs than burying or burning our waste does, so it's time to use the economy to help the environment. Thanks for listening.